So welcome one and all, wonderful people. Many thanks for tuning in. Another Wednesday, another Light 'em Up Live. Hope you're all doing well. Many thanks for tuning in. I'm delighted and honored to welcome Jessi Flores for quite a different session this time, because we want to give you all a broad perspective of the industry as a whole and talk about all different topics and look at the industry from various angles. So many thanks for being part of tonight's show. Jessi, we're honored and most grateful that you take the time to tune in. I would like to welcome all the people tuning in via Facebook Live. As always, if you have any questions, please put them underneath the live video and we will most happily forward them to Jessi so we can answer all your questions. To all the wonderful people joining us here at the lounge, please be kindly invited to raise your hand or put something into the chat box if you have a question. And let's get cracking. Jessi, welcome to Light 'em Up. Thank you for being part of the show.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm very honored. I've been watching your show for a very long time, and also Cigar Journal European side.
Well, thank you so much for the kind words. It means a lot to us. And yeah, it's been a couple of months already. Of course, during that whole COVID craze that we're all going through together. But it's just wonderful to have an opportunity to connect so many people from all around the world and people from different countries, from different industries, from different professions, but all brothers and sisters of the leaf. Jessi, give us a brief introduction into how you actually ended up as a quintessential part of the cigar industry, even though you come from a totally different perspective and a different profession.
Briefly, let me tell you first, I have a lot to say. So there's, I hope you guys are ready. I can go for an hour or two. I hope you guys have your cigars and your bottles of scotches and wines ready. My first introduction to the cigars, when I was very young, I got introduced by my stepfather. My stepfather smoked a lot of Cuban cigars. And over the years, I didn't understand what it was, that he was smoking. I was very young. And then coming to Nicaragua, I met a very, I would say, unique individual from New York. Everybody knows him, Jonathan Drew. I met him at a gas station. And we became good friends because we both spoke English. No, like literally around the city, English was like a phenomenon, like if you were a UFO. So when people heard John speak, everybody was like, oh, wow. And then they heard me speak, they were like, where'd you speak very fast English. I'm like, yeah, I'm not from here. And a lot of people thought I was Cuban or, Puerto Rican. And then I hanged out with John so much that we became very close friends. And he introduced me to the cigar world, and I really didn't know what the cigar world was. I was very ignorant. I tell everybody I thought cigars were only machine made. Truth, I thought, it was all like, back in the days, to smoke blunts and stuff like that, what it was that for. And later on, I came to see what he was doing on the processing level of production and industry, and then packing. I was like, wow, this is so intricate. And I was very enthused by all the hands that were touched, to make one cigar. And I really didn't have an interest in the cigar industry, none at all. I really didn't want to work. I just loved hanging out with John and smoking cigars and drinking rum and going out to eat with him. And we were always breaking bread. And my father came down and visited me. And my dad was like, well, Jessi should work with you. And I was like, I don't want to work with John. John's a little bit too crazy. He's not the normal average type. He's always screaming and nobody understands what he's screaming at because nobody speaks English. I got to translate all his screams. And it turned out, my dad got ill. Unfortunately, my dad passed away a few years ago. And I made a promise to my dad that I was going to work hard and, live my best life. And I went under Jonathan Drew's wing, and I became his assistant. And from his assistant, as a translator and driver, bodyguard, whatever you want to call it, I got to see firsthand everything that was going on in the cigar industry and business-wise mentality also. So it was my introduction to the cigar side, of the cigar world, sorry. Because a lot of people get introduced as a family member. You get, I was just a street kid new graffiti and tattoos. And at that moment, John didn't know that I did all that stuff.
How would you say was that experience different for you entering the industry from that side and from a totally different perspective in comparison to what you just mentioned, like some of those people who have been there all their life, you know, coming from a unique family legacy or a long-standing tradition of 4 or 5 generations within the cigar industry?
It was very difficult because a lot of people looked at us like gangsters. You know, when we walked into the bank to ask for money, you know, we were wearing sandals and shorts, and nobody really took us seriously, even John. He was always wearing, you know, just casual wear. You know, you picked him up at the airport and people was like, who's this, you know, surfer or skateboarder? And me, myself, they thought I was a thug until, you know, it's like, oh man, these guys are, you know, really business guys. But I really didn't understand the format of the cigar industry until I walked in and seen everything, the process, what it took to be in the cigar industry. And my perspective was, I didn't know nothing about the cigars. Once I got into it, I started seeing all the steps and, you know, making friendships and making connections. I think my first cigar buddy besides John was Nick Perdomo and his father, Nick Perdomo Sr., which were the first ones that made cigars for at the time, Drew Estate.
And I'm pretty sure that well, like just that experience working together with Jonathan must have been mind-blowing on the one side, but also truly inspiring. Like, what describe a little bit just what sort of a personality he is, or what it feels like to be working with somebody who is as genius but sort of as crazy in the most positive sense as Jonathan.
In the beginning, everybody that I've seen that worked around him were very intimidated because they didn't know his vibe, his feeling. I myself, from being from Miami, I know that there's a lot of crazy people out there, you know, that very artistically engineered. So I seen John as a very creative person, you know, a visionary. And John's always told me the same. It's like, yo, you're very visionary for other people that I don't, you know in the world. And it became very traditional for me that every idea that John came up with was very normal to me, because the majority of people, when they hear John's ideas and concepts, like, yo, I want to put these cigars and call it White Rabbit. And people are like, what? It's like, why? It's like, I love it. You know, I would really endorse his format of business side of brand names, design boxes. And we would stay up, you know, he was drawing up China 5 and people were like, what's it mean? I was like, I don't know, ask John, but that's his inspiration of what he wants. So a lot of people really didn't fit in, but they had to do their job, you know. As for me, I had to like interpret everything that he wanted to people in the Nicaraguan side, because at that time, for like 5 years, I was the only translator in the company. So for me, it was connection with John. Every time John wanted something, I had to how do you say, translate exactly to the persons that were like, from the wood guys to the silk screening guys, to the carpenter guys, anybody that had to do anything the first years, I had to translate everything to them. And they would look at me and scratch their head. I was like, why does he want that? I was like, I don't know. It was like this one time he made a presentation. It looked like to put cigars, it was a huge display. It was like a guitar and it had like a sledgehammer. And people was like, what's he doing that for? It's like, because it sticks out, you know, it's for, you know, an event, and people wouldn't even imagine that. So it's like something out of the ordinary. That's what he's looking for in marketing, you know, because a lot of people are already used to, like, the box, you know, you look at the colors of the band, and everything was totally very traditional. And then when I stepped in, everything just, you know, changed the atmosphere of, you know, the whole arrival of marketing. You know, when he told me, he was like, yo, you're going to start doing trade shows. I was like, what's a trade show? You know, I didn't know what it was until he gave me full reign. I was like, hey, I want you to do this, I want you to do that. And even the Nicaraguan side of people were looking at me like if I was crazy, because I was trying to explain to them, I was like, hey, we're going to go and build something inside of a warehouse, and then it's going to be shipped out to Vegas. And people was like, what for? I was like, I don't know. John has a vision. That vision is, you know, uncomparable to everybody. So everybody was against him in the beginning, and everybody was like, they had a side name for him, El Crazy Gringo, El Gringo Loco, you know, the crazy, you know, American, because nobody understood the wavelength of marketing, you know, of, you know, originality. So it was something very different, you know, that in the beginning was very tiring for a lot of people because they didn't understand the volume of what he wanted to be in the future, not just a normal cigar company. He wanted to be something totally different in the industry. And I remember one time he told me, he's like, Jess, if you hang out with me long enough, you're going to see a longevity and a change, and we're going to dominate the industry. That was like 15 years ago. He already, you know, predominated that vision that we would, you know, take over a whole industry. And we were very small. We at that time, I think we had only like 200 employees. When I left DE, I think it was like 1,800 employees.
It's what an incredible journey, and what a tremendous impact that you had on the industry with your very particular set of skills and with that different angle. What I also truly appreciate is the way you entered the company and sort of working through all the ranks. It's a bit like Pedro's story. I mean, we had Pedro on the show, and he was also working through all those different tiers of the company to the position that he's currently holding, which is inspiring to so many people. How do you feel as like, you were born in Nicaragua, right? You grew up in Miami. What does it feel like to give back something also probably to the local community and to inspire young and upcoming artists, or even just, you know, the random people from the street in Nicaragua, to show them what they could do with their life if you just follow your heart and your passion?
I over the years, I can truly say that when I grew up in Miami, it was totally different because I was more enthused by what was my surroundings, and, you know, trying to be famous in the graffiti world, because I was very active in the graffiti scene in Miami in the 80s and 90s. When I got here, I seen that the poverty levels were very high, and I seen the difference of lifestyles. It was like in the States, we take very things for granted. Yeah, also in the European Union, like we complain about our cars, we complain about this, and over here it's like no washing machines, everything's washed by hand, everything's hand cooked, nothing's like totally different from this side of the world. So when I came here and I started working with John, I seen the opportunity when he offered me to do Subculture Studios, which was something that we made up. First was a tattoo studio, and we gave up on the idea because people didn't, you know, look at it as a lifestyle. They seen it as a luxury. It's totally different. In 2003, in 2004, I came back, and we operated from SLE. We opened up Subculture Design Studios. A lot of people didn't understand what it was. It was just a group of guys working underground in a small little corner venue and building artwork for the company. And a lot of people didn't understand me when I offered them job opportunities, and I was looking directly for graffiti artists. And I probably found like 3 or 4. One of them stayed on Subculture's management team, which is Dog Squad. He's the one that manages Subculture. So he was one of the first guys that I searched for. And then the marketing side really turned around when John asked me, you know, like, yo, I want you to do paintings for the stores. I was like, all right, that's cool. It was like, I want 100. I was like, whoa, I can't do 100. It's just me, my fat self, and I, you know, I can't do, you know, that type of number. And he was like, well, use my money and invest in employees and get a building and get this. And I was like, oh shit, okay. So this was the moment that I could get Nicaraguan locals and start teaching them and showing them how to do creative skill sets, you know, and get them out the ghetto side of mentality, and, you know, stop abusing drugs, stop using alcohol, stop, you know, going out to discos, and come over here to Jessi's side and learn some unique skill sets. And so I took over Subculture Studios in the city. I probably got like 34 guys. and we started producing artwork for the factory at a larger scale, instead of just me doing, canvases, which was very unique, but, to reproduce so many artwork, I didn't know about silk screening back then. So the only way that I knew was, okay, mass production and giving job opportunities. So each one that I came in, there was probably from the 34, 35 guys, probably about 4 of them had skill sets in the arts and crafts. So after teaching them, I was like, hey, we're going to just be doing artwork for this cigar company. It was like, no graffiti? I was like, no graffiti. They were like scratching their heads. I'm like, I want you guys to do this. You guys are going to do this. And you guys are going to do that. So I broke it down, and I rented a 2-floor house right next to the factory. And I turned a 2-floor home into a production studio. And we were cranking out about 64 paintings a day. And then at the end of that production, I pulled up, I ordered a 20-foot container, and we were just loading up, artwork. And people were asking me, like, what are you doing? Those are thin boxes. Those aren't cigar boxes. And I'm like, no, that's our paintings. It's like painting. And people are, Nicaraguans wouldn't understand, why would Nicaraguans be painting for a cigar company? So we were actually like the frontier to do something totally different for the cigar culture. And it was really impactful, because now you walk around many shops in the US and you find La Vieja Habana, you find Acid, you find the Javas. And these are collective art pieces that people are now like collecting them. They're being sold on eBay and Amazon, and so forth. So it's a great experience that, from starting from zero to the point of sales, to the point of marketing, to the point of collectioneers. So it's like 20 years of like, you see your artwork being expanded and collected and traded. And it's like, hey, I have this art piece. Would you want to have, let's trade for a few cigars, so that's kind of cool,
When you look back at that tremendous track record now, and you together with Jonathan Drew and Drew Estate, changing the way cigars were presented and marketed, would you feel that it was really intentional and sort of following a clear and concise path? Or was it more like a serendipitous succession of circumstances that ultimately led you to where you got with the company?
I really think it was a fork on the road, as they say. You have different views that you could take. When you're driving on an interstate, and you're like, should I go this way? Should I go this way? Should I go that way? And at the time, I was homeless. I was living in the streets. Literally, John took me in, and I was just living at the factory, hanging out. And when I got the job opportunity, I was like, okay, I can afford my own building, and John's like, yo, you don't got to pay shit. I'll take care of you for a year until you get your thing going. I was like, okay, all right, that's right. So the place that he rented for me was the first place that I did a graffiti for in the city. And he was bugging me. He was like, anybody that did that graffiti where you're living at? I was like, yeah, it was me. I was like, why the hell didn't you tell me you did that? I was like, well, you never asked. So it was like a thing of circumstance, it was like, he didn't know that I did graffiti. He didn't know that I did tattoos. We just get along because we were into hip hop, because that was my thing. I grew up with hip hop. A lot of people nowadays are like, yeah, hip hop, but the old school stuff, a lot of people really collect it. And so when we started doing graffiti at the factory, it really turned the angle to the whole marketing side of the cigar industry, because everybody was like, that's not a cigar factory. That's a gym. That's a restaurant. It didn't look like a factory, but you've seen a bunch of guys smoking cigars, and all of a sudden everybody's enjoying themselves. And to me, that perspective was the holy grail of the moment, when everybody, because John's like, yo, I'm from New York. I want, graffiti inside the factory. And I was like, why do you want graffiti inside the factory? It's like, yeah, when everybody's out of here on the weekends, I want you in here painting. I was like, hold up, you're going to pay me to paint? He's like, yeah, I want you to paint. I was like, okay, this is really cool. I'm going to make money on my hobby. So I started looking out for, spray cans and stuff, but it was just me, on the weekends. And then a lot of people were coming by and asking, it's like, yo, are you hiring? I was like, hiring for what? I was like, you're doing graffiti. Can you teach me? I was like, nah. And it lasted for like 6 months that I was just by myself, like nobody was around me, and I was just having fun doing, creative stuff. Like one of the first paintings I did was, do you guys know Clockwork Orange?
Of course.
The world famous movie. So the Clockwork Orange was on the front of the factory. I painted it with brushes because I didn't have no spray cans at the time. And it was the Clockwork Orange coming out, but instead of a dagger, he was holding a cigar. And it turned into something iconic in the city. So when everybody like Nestor Carrillo or Perdomo wanted to find the factory, everybody would say, hey, the painting with the Clockwork Orange. So it was very iconic in the city. And then outside of the factory, he's like, yo, I want you to paint a graffiti. So hence where the Drury State Bridge comes from. A lot of people was like, where did it come from? And like, it came from a graffiti that we painted in Nicaragua. And it turned out to be a very world-renowned, Mac will tell you it's international. I had never seen this type of movement, from a little bridge, to go global. I didn't believe it. And then he was like, yo, I want you to implement the rebirth of cigars. So it was huge. It was like 20 feet by 10 feet. That it was very big. So everybody in the city seen it. So it was a very iconic moment in the cigar industry. He was looking at us like gangsters and not like businessmen.
You mentioned a couple of different art forms that were quintessential to your growth and your success story. Which one of these do you feel most comfortable with, or where do you feel like you can express yourself in the very best way?
I think in my normalest form is tattoos and graffiti. Graffiti being my base, where I learned a lot. And then I've been transcending to digital art, to marketing, to social media and everything else. But I think a lot of today's atmosphere that has impacted the cigar industry is based upon the graffiti side, because a lot of other cigar guys have, I wouldn't say copy, but have been influenced by what we have done in the beginning as a company.
And another thing is that, like in every industry or in every segment, there's always trends, there's certain periods and phases that you go through. At some point it feels like everybody was doing the skulls and that sort of design, and then probably everybody's shifting back to a more traditional classic Cuban style branding.
Yeah.
Do you feel really that there is those different phases that you have to go to, or would you always believe in following your own path and in creating sort of your own design that will tell everybody right away, this is Jessi Flores?
I believe that from my perspective in the cigar side or any business side, if you really want to market yourself, you want to brand yourself, you have to be very original. So that's something that I've always pursued upon, being very unique in my designs. Like everybody wanted to have a unique ashtray. What did I do? I made a mega standing ashtray, something that nobody else had in the industry. And it became something that's collectible and something that's tradable in the cigar world. I've found some cigar ashtrays going for $350 to $3,000. And myself, I would never imagine that people would actually sell it for that much. But I've always tried to stay away from the trends. I've never opened Cigar Aficionado, probably just to read upon a friend interview, but I never opened up to like see what everybody else is doing, or what the rates are. I'm always trying to do influence by what my heart and passion goes through. That way people are like, that's original. I love that. I want to have something like that, instead of like, oh, I've seen that, but yeah, I'll still buy it. I'd rather have the other side that's more heavyweight. I was like, that's more authentic, that's more original. It's like, it'll go with the cigar brand or anything that, I'm consuming from that company. For instance, when I started doing a lot of the rats, a lot of people from the company were calling me from Miami offices like, hey, you need to stop doing the rats. I was like, why? Because, they're very provocative, they're very sexual. And it wasn't me that was wanting that. It was actually the customers, on Cigar Safari, they were coming down and getting hand-painted stuff. It was like, we want this for us. It's like a police officer wanting to be painted as pigs. It wasn't me. It was them asking that they wanted pigs as sexy rats or rats in the beaches. And it's just, you know, it's the influence of design. Like I never imagined that something that would take part as a branding for a brand would spread out to so many levels, you know, like personalization, chains, ashtrays, cigar swag, you know, across the board. I didn't know. I was like, this is really cool. I just turned something that was offensive all of a sudden into capital. So it's something that a lot of people wouldn't, you know, monetize on. But, you know, for us, we see as comedic and collectible. A lot of people didn't see that. I'd see it, but I wanted to do T-shirts and stickers and stuff. I didn't see it as like, oh wow, this is really gonna, you know, turn the face to the other side. You know, it's like, wow, we're growing a company and doing events over rats. You know, everybody else is very conservative, suits and ties, and worried about, you know, like being very punctual and bring out the scotch. And it's like all of a sudden, you know, these guys wearing rat rings and rat T-shirts are, you know, causing a concern. And, you know, at trade shows, you know, I like Mac will tell you, I was like at a trade show painting rats, and I asked, us like, hey, is it cool if I paint rats? Do whatever you want. People love it. I was like, holy shit, this is really cool. So yeah, man, it's all about branding to me. You know, being an influencer in the cigar industry. I would never imagine that being unique would be so important.
Yet so many people are also always focused on, you know, pleasing everybody, sort of going with the flow and not being too edgy, right? Especially in an industry that is as close as the cigar industry, where everybody knows each other, right? Where do you draw that very fine line between being edgy and, you know, almost going a step too far, but still being sort of I don't want to say mass applicable, but at least like approachable enough and you know, sort of behave yourself within the limits of the industry? Where do you find that balance?
Well, you know, in the beginning, if I don't break the rules, I wouldn't think I would have been so successful, because everybody was always telling me, don't do this, don't do that. I was like, but if I follow the rules, I'll be just like the rest of them. And we would be all like the rest of them. And I think breaking the rules in statutes and limitations in certain formats, you have to do it, because that way a lot of people will reach out and it's like, I can identify myself with that, the rebel in that company, the rebel in that design, and the rebel in that ashtray. It took a lot of effort to do it. You know, it was like when I started doing the ashtrays in 2006, I only started with one. And probably right now, there's probably over 30,000 ashtrays out there in the world, you know, designed by a fat guy that nobody even believed in. But I wanted to do something totally different for the cigar industry, because everybody was doing the glass. But you ask a cigar guy, what would you prefer? Would you prefer something sturdy and hard that's going to last a long time, or a glass ashtray that's going to break and you're going to like have to throw it away because you can cut yourself in 2 seconds? So I went with the design that's going to have more durability and would look really cute in a woman's, you know, house. Because, you know, usually the woman's like, hey, I don't want that here, it stinks. But you look at it, it's like, it's very shiny and beautiful. I like that, you know. So I looked at all the perspectives of design, like, okay, I need to be bold. I need to like step out, you know, the frequency of everybody that's turning the page of Cigar Aficionado, Cigar Snob. It's like, yeah, he's rated this, he's rated that. But what's more impactful? Something that's never been seen before. That's what usually what the client consumer wants. Totally something that nobody else has. So like, it's mine and I have it. Nobody else has it, or only a few have it. You know, that's what's really unique about it. And that's what I always wanted to do. Like, Franca has the painting that was only made for that specific trade show. That won't be ever done before. And she has a part of my history with her in her house that makes us, you know, a connection that nobody else has, because she went to the trade show and she had a hand-signed painting of the Rat Renaissance. The Rat Renaissance was something that I had in mind of, like, everybody knows that smoking cigars came from a long, long time ago. And everybody used, you know, corsets and top hats and, you know, suits and ties. And I put rats in there. And then you just turned the tide at everybody. And everybody that left the trade show after that was like, oh, I love this. This is going in my house. This is going in my office. So that's what you want. You know, you want that that uniqueness, you know, that people like, you feel one-on-one. It's like, oh yeah, I got a box of cigars and I'm going to smoke them. But what happens to that memory? You know, it's gone. So I've always wanted to do something that's bold and fearing, you know, to connect one-on-one with, you know, the persons, you know, the consumers. Because usually the consumers like, here, take my money. I want to buy what you have. But what does the company give back to? You know, so you're trying to like enforce a bit of history and passion together. You know, it's like, hey, you have a part of me in your home. You have a part of our company in your home.
Jessi, before we go any further, I would love to let you know that so many people are watching through Facebook, and we've got so many wonderful comments. And like Diana said that she loves the little humidor that you did for her. And I also wanted to forward you a question from Chris Duke, who's watching over on Facebook. And he was asking, what would you say could be the next big thing and the next trend when it comes to cigar boxes? And let me sort of extend the question. And what do you see as the next big thing in cigar design in general?
Good question from Chris. Something that would be very innovating to the cigar industry, bringing down a cigar design that would be very ecological. That way, a lot of people know that it's something from recyclable type of element. I've always said this, you know, when I first came down here in 2000, no, sorry, I came in Nicaragua in 1997. Mm-hmm. There used to be a mist of oxygen, very heavy, a mist, because you could tell the H2O was very strong because of the wood density. And it's disappeared because, you know, the consumption of trees, you know, there's more cigar manufacturers than, you know, after the big boom, the cigar boom. So something like reforestation and using other type of materials to make cigar boxes would be something in general very cool. But, you know, as cigar smokers, you know, we're like, there's always going to be trees, you know, but think of our children. And we pass down our traditions of smoking cigars, and there's other types of forms of packaging cigars for the future. You know, that would be something very cool and acceptable and adaptable from various cigar manufacturers, but they all have to be in time, you know, at the same time, you know, because a lot of cigar guys like, yeah, we'll do it next year, and it doesn't come around. Or yeah, we're gonna reforest this area, but doesn't come around. So I think a good way to like think of our future consumers of to continue on the cigar traditions.
You have so many projects that you've been working on over the years. Is there one in particular that sort of stands out for you, or a project that you are most proud of?
Good question. I'm very proud of like launching my own website, you know, because I really wanted to focus on branding myself as an artist. Because over the years I was under the halo of DE, and a lot of people were asking me, was like, I would really want this. And I'm like, I can't. I'm sorry. Yeah, can you do this? I'm like, no, I'm sorry. You know. But now it's like everybody wants me to do DE stuff. I was like, hey, what's going on? First you were asking me for my stuff, and now you're asking for DE stuff. I'm like, I'm sorry. I tell a lot of guys, you know, I was like, I wish I could, but I can't do the stuff that I used to do. So that's why, like, over about a year ago, I started traveling to Holland. The reason why I was like going so much to Holland was I was studying the architecture and the museums. I wanted to see how other artists were projecting themselves as gallerias. But during the COVID thing, it really changed the aspect of how artists are selling their art. You know, as me, as a cigar guy, I smoke, and I seen the opportunity to open up my own website and focus on branding myself and giving that type of harmonious outlook to the world on e-commerce. Because everybody knows, you know, like your home is like, I got to buy something. You know, it's like everybody's addicted to buying. So as consumers, I'm like, okay, let me give them what they want. Let me branch out a cigar swag lifestyle. That way everybody, enjoys a cigar culture and everybody's united, you know, because a lot of EU guys won't wear t-shirts with girls, you know, smoking. You know, they'd rather wear Columbia or North Star and, you know, more brand names. So as I'm trying to do a transition for everybody to enjoy a cigar swag, it came about the idea was like, hey, why don't I just do a live show so people can really see how an art form is created. You know, I can do canvases and walls in a few hours. I'm like, okay, let me time myself. It takes me about 2.5 hours, 3 hours to do a painting. So I started doing a live show, and it's been very successful. I've been giving away, you know, small prints of, you know, the actual designs. My first video, I think I hit 5,400 viewers. I'm like, that's unreal numbers, you know, like usually, you know, you see the Zooms and you're like, oh, wow, they reached over 70, 100, 1,000. And I've never even imagined 5,007, but that's just viewers. The outreach is probably 3 times more on, you know, with the algorithm that's going on right now with the social media. So that's something that I'm very proud of as my internal self, because I'm branding myself. I'm showing the world that I'm also an artist and I'm available to do commission work. So a lot of people have reached out to me and was like, hey, I want to do this work with you. I have a farm in Wisconsin. Can you do a logo for me? It's like, sure, why not? So I'm very open, you know, to anybody that wants to have a logo design or a collaboration with.
Jesse, I love the fact that you bring up the social media element. And I think especially for artists, it can be challenging to communicate through social media, because the one thing that we clearly see in this challenging period right now is everything's sort of turning to digital. Yet I think the willingness and the acceptance of the end consumer to also, you know, acknowledge artists' work through digital and social media is very small, you know, because everybody's sort of used to getting everything online for free, right?
Yeah.
How do you sort of handle that and find a balance between showing the world who you are and what you do, but still make sure that people also acknowledge it and treasure it from a business side?
I think from many artists that I've known around the world, I've introduced John Drew, a lot of artists from New York, from California, Texas, Louisiana, and we're all staying connected. We all chat with each other. It's like, hey, how you doing? I was like, but I never shared the idea of going live because nobody wants to show how you do things, because there's like, okay, somebody's gonna copy me. That's the one thing everybody's worried about. But I've been copied since day one that I started doing, you know, design in the cigar industry, from boxes, from packaging. And, you know, I was like, okay, I can, you know, continue on forth, and kudos to you for copying, but I'm going to try to keep doing, you know, original stuff. So a lot of graphic designers are now launching their own designs and making themselves available to mass media. But nobody has done, I think, what I've been trying to do is like showcase live artwork and still offer a full package menu of like, okay, I can do this for you. I was like a certain individual is like, hey, I want ashtrays for my store, which is Deadwood Cigars in South Dakota. They do the Sturgis, the motorcycle rallies. And there will be like, from 2 samples, I know it's going to be 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 ashtrays. But I'm trying to like be very versatile so everybody knows what I'm doing and given an ample menu. And I was like, okay, this is one thing I can do, but I can also do this, and I can also do this. And I have, you know, over the years, my portfolio, all the cool stuff that I've done for DE, you know, because live shows, who doesn't want to rank on that? You know, it's like 5,700 followers plus, you know, the unreachable is like, that's what, you know, a graffiti writer's dream, you know, to be showcased, you know, because when you do a galleria, you won't get everybody to be going. But now on live is like, okay, you're home. I'm going to bring the show to your home. I'm going to make it available. I'm going to showcase it with a timeline preview. I'm going to make an ad and make it, you know, dispensable with through all my friends, and everybody will see it. You know, like right now I'm doing it on Sundays in the afternoons after my kids go to sleep, because I got 2 little boys. And, you know, I go berserk in my patio. You know, I turn on the music and I make it interactual, which is something that a lot of people really appreciate. Instead of me going on a GoPro camera and just running with it and then just going back and you just see 30 seconds, I'd rather be interactual, because that's one thing that I've always wanted to be one-on-one with people. And I believe that today Mac will tell you, it's the best thing, you know, being one-on-one with the people have a strong connection with that, because they'll go back, you know, as soon as you finish your video, it's like, man, I seen this guy, he was kicking ass, you should go see him. You know, that's what you want, that feedback, that people will like continue to feed the seed of, you know, your production. And it's like, even though that you might not smoke cigars, but you'll want to see somebody kicking ass on a canvas.
Yeah, very good point. A little earlier, you mentioned your website and building your own brand and going online with all that. Chris posted the link underneath the live video over on Facebook, so all the people can go watch and check out your site over there. It's victims1975.com for all of you guys over here. Definitely check it out. Jessi, what was sort of the idea or the purpose of building it, and what was the approach behind it? What did you want it to look like? How did you want to communicate through it? And what are sort of the items that you put on there, just to put it into perspective and so that people know what's going on over there?
Good questions. You thought about your questions. Very good. I really wanted to reach out to the cigar smoker, you know, the cigar guy, the cigar lady, you know, and branch out different items that our everyday smokers could use. Because one thing, as a private company, as you know, that I was working for, everybody was like, hey, where's a DE site where I can buy my shit? I was like, I'm sorry, you know, that's not me. I was like, that's up to marketing. And that was a problem that was always throughout the years. People were like, hey, where's a site that I can buy your stuff? I want to buy your stuff. I can't go to Nicaragua, because a lot of people were coming down to Nicaragua in suitcases. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. They would bring suitcases to get t-shirts, humidors, cups, anything that you could think of. I had one guy bring his wine-ador humidor door. He unscrewed it and brought it down. And then a bunch of other guys seen it. And I was like, I had this crazy idea, like, man, I should just build my own website and just, you know, start selling stuff that people want. Because I asked this guru, because I studied a little bit of marketing in 2019. And then I started e-commerce marketing online with another guy. And this one guru is like, man, you should have no problem selling your vision, because you're already connected with a certain industry. It's just a normal person like me comes in and wants to sell something. It'll take me years. It takes me thousands of dollars in marketing. All you got to do is like smile and say, hey, I'm here. This is my website. Buy my product, and, you know, continue on, so forth. So I got all the ideas within 2019 and traveling to Holland and Rotterdam. And I was like, okay, I'm ready. Even though COVID-19 was active, and I was like, this is a very tense time to launch a website. But in my mind, everybody's home. Everybody gets a credit card. Everybody gets getting delivery. So like the only thing that's backing me up is like God and having faith that, you know, people are going to reach out, and, you know, having certain delays with shipping, but it worked out the way that I wanted. You know, everybody's buying the stuff that they want. So like I reached out t-shirts, because I know a lot of guys and girls like t-shirts and tank tops. Then I want, you know, travel bags and backpacks, because I know a lot of guys don't want to be carrying, you know, stuff. And it was like, hey, I want to carry my gun, my clip in my backpack. And I'm like, sure. So I started making these backpacks, really cool. And I was like, okay, I got to make sandals for the guys that want to hang around in flip-flops. And then hats for the guys and girls, and then beanie. You know, I thought of a different variety of things that would impact people's homes. And then I did the outrageous. I'm like, I want to sell my artwork in prints. I want to sell my artwork in canvas. So I made a few artwork pieces, and I digitalized them to be printable. Because that's one thing as an artist, a lot of artists, we're very critiqued of ourselves. There's like, oh, I don't want people to look at me cheap. But what's the one way that everybody wants to have artwork, you know, affordable artwork? So I went that way, because that's the one standard that everybody can have my artwork in their home, instead of like some guy collecting all the artwork and nobody's gonna see it. It doesn't work out for me as an artist. I want to be in people's homes. So the only way would lower down my cost of, you know, percentage. And I was like, okay, I'd rather have be in people's homes at a lower cost. And that'll be beneficiary for both people that are consumers, as myself as a cigar guy artist. And I'm painting guys in the field, another guy is picking tobacco, black and white vector design of a tobacco leaf. So I'm reaching out to the cigar guys, and a lot of people are very much entwined. Like, the artwork that Mac has there, that's a hand painted piece that in revenue, if you wanted that original piece, it would be like $300. But now that the way that I'm doing it, it'll cost you $59. It's much affordable and much easier online. And you're like, look, I know it's going to be here in 3 weeks or a month or, a month and a half, because of the COVID. But, even with the COVID, I've still thought of, okay, the possibilities are endless. I made masks, and the masks are something that everybody's using, like neck gaiters that you could use for your neck, for your hair, and cover your, when you're in the gym. So I thought of a variety of things that were acceptable to the cigar consumer.
I love the fact that you speak about making art accessible, and I think that's a quintessential element of the work that you've been doing, which also gives you the opportunity to reach a much larger audience, because your normal random guy from the street could have access to something that you design, which is incredible, I think. What is that, because of your background and just the way you were brought up and the way you grew up, or where does that longing come from to make art an accessible thing for everybody?
Check out Mac. Mac has a gator right there. That's one of my neck gaiters, and it's something that I made very humbly because I want everybody to have it. I think my thing of when I started doing Cigar Safari with John, we would pick people up at the airport, cater them to a restaurant, give them cigars, and just make them feel at home. That thing of like brotherhood that everybody shares, on this platform and other Zooms, we all feel togetherness, that connectivity is like, hey, I smoked that Perdomo. Hey, I smoked that Liga. I smoked that Cohiba. That connectivity that we could all share. So I thought of what's the one thing that's accessible from my part, from Cigar Safari, was everybody was taking my art home and it was free. But what can I do to make it accessible, but for gain for myself, but at a lower cost? Not like these artists that are selling their art pieces, because I seen a Bansky piece go for $50,000. I'm like, that's just copy, print, and paste and spray can. Are you kidding me? That's $50,000? Because that's literally what it is. It's copy, paste, print, and it's really, something very, a technique very street. But for my end, I wanted to be very connected with the consumer side, because everybody knows me from, Australia, Norway, the Dutch, Germans, literally around the world. Australia, I had a customer in Israel order a painting from me, and he was so ecstatic of having my artwork. And I never met the guy. And now that it gives me chills talking about somebody I don't even know, but I'm happy that they have that piece of art, that they could display, and it's a conversation piece that people are like, hey, that's interesting. Where'd you get that? And I was like, oh, from this guy from Nicaragua. He's a tobacco guy. It's like the conversation starts, and it breaks the ice of like conversation. It's like, oh man, I know that guy, and it works out very well, So my part of being affordable in the aspect of art came from that experience in Cigar Safari. Hey, that's an original subculture right there, that t-shirt.
And Jessi, it's not just about making it accessible and affordable, but also tailoring it and making it bespoke, so that the people who actually order from you and the people that you engage with, they have something unique, which is what you envision for them, and you create this wonderful piece that somebody would have at home, or carry around with them, and it's 100% bespoke, right?
Yeah, it gives a perspective to the consumer that they're very respected, that they're wearing something original, not something made in China, because a lot of people, they buy stuff, I had a friend, I took him to Rancho Santana. It's like a beach resort, and they had their own little galleria, just to specify. And the guy's buying the artwork. And I'm like, why don't you buy something from me? He's like, oh, I don't know this guy. I was like, dude, it's the other way around. You're supposed to buy art from a person that you know. You don't even know who that guy is. Like, oh, but it's beautiful. I was like, dude, I could do that 3 times better. But it's the perspective of the person. You know, if I make it eligible, that's why the website had to be done. And I fought so many hard ways because I couldn't open the website because the Nicaraguan has sanctions here in Nicaragua. I had to take a partner to the States to open up a bank account in the States. And I went through hell and back, you know, trying to get a business going because it's very difficult here in Nicaragua with all the sanctions. That I don't know if you guys know about Daniel Ortega. He's not the greatest guy in the world. And he's made it very difficult for nonprofit organizations and banking systems to work. Like I have a GoFundMe for my daughter. That was very hard to do. Like I couldn't open a GoFundMe campaign. I had to go through my family to open it. And then I had to reopen another one in Hawaii to do another GoFundMe because it's impossible to work here. So the website, when I finally completed it, I was like, okay, I have all my designs and I want to do something very original. I was like, the same thing as the cigar industry was like a limited edition, you know, a limited time offer, you know, not sold in stores. So I wanted to do that, you know, every week launch a new design. But unfortunately, my suppliers paused the new item function because they're overwhelmed with other businesses that are opening up right now. Mm-hmm. So the idea of the e-commerce worked very well, but at the same time, it backfired on me because now I have competition of all these guys, graphic designers trying to put on their own businesses, but they're lacking one thing. They don't have a niche industry. You know, they're trying to sell on the internet, but nobody's buying from them. They're selling like 5 shirts a month or something like that. And I got an email from my manufacturer saying, hey, you're in the highest rate on your first month sales. I'm like, you know, that's good for me. But in the long run, COVID-19, you know, is overwhelming, you know, to a lot of small business. But I'm going to keep pushing forward. I don't care. I'm going to keep pushing.
Jessi, that's great to hear. And I would love to speak a little more about the fundraiser that you briefly mentioned, because it's linked to a very, very personal story of yours. And I truly acknowledge and appreciate that you brought it up. But give us a little bit of a background on the fundraiser, and hopefully a lot of people who are watching this can help you and support you a little bit on that project.
Okay. When I was working with John Drew in the very beginning, I think in 2000, I think my daughter was born in 2002. She was born with heart problems, and I tried my best to get her operated. And I sent her to Cuba with the political party, the FSLN, which is the Sandinistas. They helped, unbelievably, they helped me out. And because her mother is Sandinista, can you believe it? And then they called me up from Cuba and they asked me, like, hey, we're going to do the operation. Are you authorized? You know, like, what's the percentage of her living? It was like very slim. And I was like, don't do it. I want her to live the rest of her life here in Nicaragua. They projected that she would live from 5 to 7 years old. And then over the years, she became more ill because of her heart. You know, she has 2 little holes in her artery, and unfortunately, they could never be operated. So I took it as a God's blessing that she was still alive, because the majority of the kids, the percentage, they say that only live till a year after they're diagnosed with the problem. I did as much as possible as a father, took care of her. She's 20 years old right now. Over the years, she's had arthritis, bone deficiency, which her bones are separating, which is something very painful. Imagine, you know, just growing up with, you know, pain in your bones. Then her lung collapsed in 2018. And then 2019, we found out that she had tumorous cancers in her liver and needed to be extracted. In her kidneys. So she could live with 1 kidney after being extracted with one that has the 3 tumors. COVID-19 came around. I had to stop the surgery that we were a week away to getting into. From there, I started asking for help from my family, business associates, people in the cigar industry. And unfortunately, I had to go through GoFundMe to open up a campaign to supply her medical needs, because it was an astonishing number that I was going through. Like every month, at least $800 just for her, and it was like a little bit overwhelming with the incoming salary that I had from just selling artwork. And I had other kids that I had to, maintain, but she was always my main priority. And then COVID-19 hit. I had to stop the whole surgery, and then I went on to just taking care of her with the first GoFundMe campaign. I bought her medical supplies. I had a nurse coming into her house every 2 weeks. What's up, brother Chris? And then I bought her medical beds, an oxygen tank, stuff that she needed because she couldn't function normally as a human being. She's literally disabled. So I did as much as I could. And then her funds from her GoFundMe campaign, the first one, ran out because her medical bills were so high. And I opened up another one with my brother from another mother, Chris Duke, in Hawaii. And we're currently, looking for donations for her. So as soon as the COVID-19 passes, we should go back to her surgery and all of her exams and MRIs, and look into extracting her tumors, because there are 3 tumors that are lynched on her liver, kidney.
Jessi, it's a heartbreaking story, and I can only wish you the very best, and for you and your family. May the situation get better as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I think Chris, he already shared in the link to the GoFundMe page as well. So for all of you guys watching, please be, check it out and support it. We appreciate, Jessi, you sharing the story. And I think ultimately it also shows that, as an industry and as brothers and sisters of the leaf, we all got to stand together and support each other. And I'm pretty sure that you've seen a lot of support from those people within the industry as well, right?
Yeah, I've seen support. I think a little bit more support would be appreciated. I wouldn't have to be doing the GoFundMe campaigns. I think with everything that's going on with the COVID-19, I think it's hit everybody across the board. Small families, big families, small businesses, big businesses. So unfortunately, she's going through this. She's not going through it alone. There's guys like Chris Duke, Mac, that have donated, and other individuals in the cigar industry that have supported her to make her life a little bit easier. I would say it's a blessing to have her at this age, because she was diagnosed to live at 5 and she's 20. She's gonna be 21 in September. And I'm very appreciative of everybody's support. That's one of the reasons, a lot of people didn't understand why I was selling so much art for my studio and for myself and what I'm doing now, because it has to be a nonstop. It's not like, taking a Tylenol and she'll be better. I have to constantly be taking care of her and all her needs and medical care. And I'm going to be doing as much as possible from my side, building collaborations with other cigar companies and farms, and making logos and designs and doing live art, because I want people to have art, but I also want people to know where the money's going to. It's not like I'm going to Ibiza and Switzerland on vacation, and I'm trying to save a little girl's life. And it's unfortunate that some of us don't know what it is to go through a heartbreaking situation, because it hasn't impacted us. Only a few might know what it is to go through breast cancer or another type of cancer, because it is draining for a family. Not only the person that has the illness or the disease, but also as a family member, you're drained by all this energy that you have to move around dominoes and make things happen for another individual, not be happy, but at least be stable with medication. So I appreciate you guys asking for my daughter. But from my point, man, it's a blessing to have so many friends, that brothers of the leaf and sisters of the leaf out there that really are a blessing to have on one side.
I couldn't agree more. And I think it's like these challenging times that we all have to go through at some moment in life, you know, these are opportunities to really grow. And I'm pretty sure that as an artist, you have unique ways of sort of factoring those considerations and those struggles and hurdles also into the way you express yourself through the art, right?
Yeah, I've over the years I've helped build contributions to build homes in Nicaragua. I've donated my artwork to different types of charities in Nicaragua to help others. And I never did it with any interest. I always did it with, you know, I know somebody's going to be happy. I never imagined being thankful or something like that. I always wanted to be the guy who's like behind the scenes, like, hey, Jessi donated this, you know, it built 3 or 4 homes, you know, out of this. And it was like, so it's something like Chris Duke has a painting that used to be in my office, and I donated it for a good cause. And that the money that was collected built a home for somebody here in Nicaragua. And that's something that, you know, a lot of people won't even know until I tell the story. So that was in my office years ago. And I donated it to a store that did, it's called Techo para mi país, a program that Jewish State Charities ran at that time. So I gave up the painting so it could be built for somebody's home. And I actually met the lady, and she cried when, you know, we gave her the keys. And I was like, you don't got to cry. You should be happy. She's like, I just feel like you're a cool person to meet, you know, because, you know, besides me donating the canvas, I was also there helping with building our home. So it's stuff that, you know, as humanity, you know, like you're the tables will turn always, you know, you're always going to be giving back to what you give, you know, in a weird way.
Jessi, let's also speak about some of the other projects you're involved with currently. I know you have a little coffee sort of side hustle, and there's a leather story as well that I would love to talk about. But let's start with the coffee. What's your involvement there?
The coffee thing started with another story from Cigar Safari. I overheard so many people joyously talking about Nicaraguan coffee and their morning cigar, because a lot of guys, you know, enjoy their cigars and enjoy their morning coffee. So I asked the chef, was like, hey, what are you putting on the coffee, man? These people are driving me nuts, asking me for, you know, this guy would make a big gulp of, you know, coffee, and people were just consuming it. And they would even wake up early in the morning. It was like, hey, where's the coffee? It's like, dude, the chef ain't here yet. Hold on. So people were raving about this coffee. And then I met a friend of mine that owned like 3,000 or 5,000 acres of coffee, and we connected. And he was like, hey, you want to get in? I was like, yes, I do. So I started studying the cultivating information of Nicaraguan coffee. And then, unfortunately, again, with my daughter, Stephanie, I started doing a campaign for her. And these guys from Janus Coffee Roasters, they approached me and was like, hey, we want to do something very cool. We want to donate our coffee to your cause, to your daughter. And I was like, whoa, that's so cool. And I'm thinking about going on coffee. And it was like, let's do a merger. Let's help your daughter out, and you do the graphics, and we'll provide the coffee and the shipping and handling. You don't got to do nothing. I was like, really? I was like, dude, that's awesome. Let's do this. If you give me a second, I'll go look for a coffee bag so I can show you guys the coffee. Hold on.
Reinhard, every time I go down to Nicaragua, I'm always getting coffee to bring back.
Here it is. So this Cyclops. And then there's another one that's called, the first one was Jessi's Blend. Jessi's Blend is a mixture of Nicaraguan coffee and other beans. And these guys were, I met them on Cigar Safari, you know, Cigar Brothers of the Leaf. And there's 2 brothers, Shad and Shane. And they really impacted me because both of them wanted a tattoo for me. And at the time on Cigar Safari, I was doing, yeah, there it is, Jessi's Blend. And I was doing tattoos. And there's like, we're not leaving until we get a tattoo from Jessi. I was like, cool. So I told them the amount, and they paid for it. I charged $150 an hour, and I had no idea that they were into coffee back then. And we became good friends. Yeah, there's another one, Mac. And one of them got him inside his arm, and the other guy got it in his forearm, and it turned us into a bonding relationship, as they say. And then when they found out that my daughter was sick, they was like, "We want to do something for you, brother." I was like, "We want to donate our coffee to your cause." I was like, "Whoa, that's I shed a tear." You don't hear that from mostly companies reaching out and saying, "Hey, we want our profits to go for you, for your daughter." I was like, "Oh, dude, that's a blessing." So they had Matt, can you show them the Jessi's blend? That the first one is just I live close to a farm, so there's always a rooster. So so I figured a rooster drinking a cup of coffee would be very comedic, and also thanks, Matt, and something very comical. So I did that, and then if you see, this one has a third eye, a cyclops, because it's always the person that's, I drink coffee, but I'm American drinker, in the morning. Nicaraguan drink coffee 3-4 times a day like it was water. I don't know what it is, but third world countries, they drink it as, as like if it was natural juice. So I thought of the way of their consumption and turning it into a way of, okay, they're drinking coffee because their mind is set on just drinking coffee. People will be staring at their clock just like, it's almost coffee time, it's almost coffee time. So I came up with the idea of Cyclops, and it turned out very, very cool. And you could find both of my blends on januscoffeeroasters.com. Now there's a third one that I'm working on. It should be ready to launch in August, which is going to be rum and coffee. Beautiful. That's something very, very cool. I think this is the first time I'm mentioning it, but we started doing the mixture about a month and a half ago, so it should be a very good blend for everybody to enjoy. The guys that like a little bit of rum in their mouth and having a cigar and coffee in the morning, I think that's going to be a good mixture and a good blend.
Wonderful. And you heard it here first, so very much looking forward to that. That's wonderful. Jessi, also know you have a leather project, and there was a certain link to the Ortez family, right? Tell us a bit about that. We had Indiana on the show a couple of weeks back, and the Ortez family, they're doing wonderful things down there in Nicaragua. But you have a special sort of relationship that led to the leather project, right?
Yeah, with Indira. If you give me a second, I'll go get a little piece of artwork. I'm back, guys. Okay, so this is one of the art pieces that I'm doing. This is a carrying cigar case. So I did a live video of this paint, so you could order through me, and then I'll connect you through the website. So it's something very, folk art, as they say. And it's for your cigars. You put your lighters, cutters, and stuff with it. And for ladies, you could use it as a makeup kit too. Well, the business side happened as a gift for my wife. I'm always, imagine how I am detailed on my artistic side. I'm very detailed to my wife when it's anniversaries, birthdays, Christmas. So about 2 years ago, I made a gift design for my wife with Indira, which was a purse, um, a sandals, and a makeup bag to go with her purse. And it was all white. And I asked her to just give me the three in a set, same leather, same thing. And I gave it to, before I gave it to my wife, I painted a cactus, a different, a scenery of different cactuses. And I gave that to my wife as her Christmas gift. And when I contacted Indira to say thank you, I was like, hey, would you be interested in doing a collaboration in the future with me? She's like, yeah, sure. I'd be overwhelmed, working with Jessi Flores. I'm like, all right, cool. So once I left Drew Estate, she was the first one I approached. And I was like, what do you have in your menu? She's like, I have cigar cases. I don't have one available with me because I gave all the ones that I have. Chris Duke should have one in his table. And I gave the opportunity to work with her. She made the cigar cases that holds 4 cigars, cutters and lighters, and it's all leather made here in Nicaragua and shipped directly to the consumer, the purchaser. And it's something very unique because it's something authentic and it's something handmade, and it's not like you buy at the airport, you coming in, or you buy it at the flea market in Nicaragua or anywhere, and it's custom made to your distinct liking, like the color leather, the way that you want it, the type of artwork that you want, how many, I can make it any kind of way that you like it. So it's something very custom and unique, and I think we've made over 120 different cigar cases, and they've been around the world.
They come in different formats and sizes, right?
Yeah, there's one that is non-wood. It's just leather, which is really cool, and this one has wood and it has the latching, so you could take it off and put it back on. And it's something very unique, and a lot of people take more. These the ones that Chris is showing has buttons, and the last ones that we made have magnet, so it just very easy to take off and on. And I always include stickers on each shipping, so it'll bring a little bit more like I got a Jessi original, instead of like, oh yeah, I got this online, Because a lot of people, I've searched the web and I've seen a lot of guys selling very expensive and luxurious cigar cases, but why are they so luxurious? They cost, very affordable to make, and you're trying to make all this money off of something. So I'm always thinking about making it affordable, but at the same time, luxury and original, but I want people to have it and accessible, because a lot of people is like, I want to have something like this. That's a computer bag, and you could actually have cigars on the inside to carry.
Nice, cool. Do you have any further plans on that collaboration and sort of expanding the portfolio, or do you want to keep it very, very, very narrow and concise?
No, like with Indira, we could make anything that she has in her website and custom make it, like custom sandals, custom shoes, anything that wants to be hand painted. If there's a lady in Canada that just ordered 7 different types of cigar cases. So if anybody wants to have custom cases elaborated for their cigar shop, more than welcome, contact us and we'll be more than gladly to elaborate, because it's all about what the customer wants. Like I was saying earlier, it's like, if you want something from us, we just create, what you want. One lady asked for a car, her BMW. Another lady asked for like a Day of the Dead type of artwork. Another lady asked for tobacco leaves. Another person asked for a motorcycle with tobacco leaves on the back. So it's literally anything that you want, I can paint and customize it for your, for your cigar case. Like this one's small. This one's really, it's very compatible. You could put like, I think it's 1, 2, 3, about 8 cigars, and you could actually put 4 cigars and still put your cigar and cutter in there. So it's something very nice and cool, that you can carry anywhere, instead of like these huge humidors and like get all scratched up and stuff. So everything is like handmade, it's authentic, and the leather smells, very unique,
Jessi, when you look back at the history that you had within the cigar industry and beyond with all the other projects that you currently have, be it the coffee, whether it's the leather or some of the probably non-cigar related art projects, what would you say was the impact that cigars and the cigar industry have had on your life?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
I was curious about the impact, or how would you say has the cigar industry and cigars in general changed your life throughout the years?
It's had a big impact. I think the most impact that I've had from the whole cigar industry is having the opportunity of painting at a live trade show when I met Franca and the EU side of the cigar industry. Was a blessing in disguise because it's always been there, but they've never imagined 300-pound Nicaraguan graffiti artists being there. And me being there, having the opportunity of one-on-one meeting everybody was a very impactful moment, because when I got back on the plane, I was like, I want to come back. And the only way that I'm going to come back is doing more revolutionary things within the year gap of coming back to the Dortmund show. The other trade shows were very impactful because, I won awards, but I never done things to win awards. I never was into the awards. My thing was always being in with the people, getting to know the consumer side, the retailers, the guys that were like, yo, we love your artwork. We're collecting your artwork. I've been to all your trade shows. Those are the guys that I really, really feel in connection with, because I got an award for best art in from the European Cult Journal, and it was heartwarming. I still have it here, but I really like the experience of being one-on-one. That's the impact that I really, really enjoy, because a lot of people, I talked to other guys in the cigar industry, and there's like, oh yeah, this guy's bugging me, he's chatting me. I was like, man, I every time somebody contacts me, I want to be in contact with that person. Even I don't care what hour it is. Like, hey, how you doing? How you been? I was like, it's all right, it's cool. So to me, it's like I don't get bothered by people. A lot of guys in the cigar industry is like, this guy's fucking douche. This guy's a pain in the ass. He's always wanting something. I was like, what's wrong with that? That's what consumer service is about, being a people person. If you're not into it, you shouldn't. This is not the business for you, because this is a consumer side business. If you're not really ready to give forth 110%, a lot of people will just go on to a next product. That's the big problem. That's the real issue. It's like, even I won't say companies, but if you get a faulty cigar and that company comes back and gives you a better cigar or more cigars, you're a happy consumer. But if you don't hear back from that company, you're like, yeah, I'm going to jump to another company. That this company is really not, I'm not feeling this company. So to me, it's always been about that one-on-one, because it's about that customer service.
And ultimately, it's all about the experience. And the experience is not just the thing or the product itself. It's everything around it. And it's got an awful lot to do with what you just mentioned. It's the customer service or the hospitality that you can grant upon people and present them with. And at its core, I think that's also what makes the cigar industry unique. It's the people that are in there. It's the brotherhood and the sisterhood that we all share, and helping each other out.
Yeah,
Jessi,
yeah.
No, please go ahead.
Like back in when I was doing Cigar Safari, a lot of guys would come in and they would very humbly be in my office, and it was like, dude, you're a cool dude to hang out with. You make this company what it is. And it's that thing, that background information that really makes you want to come back the next day and give your hardcore, your 100% to the next group that was coming in. Because a lot of people, I ain't gonna lie to you, a lot of people called me while they were on other safari tour, cigar tours, and there's like, hey, can we come over to your place and hang out? I was like, what's wrong with your tour? Like, they're boring here. They left us at a hotel. They just gave us a a cooler with beer, and they just left us with boxes of cigars, but we don't got nobody to interact with. It was like, hey, come over for dinner tomorrow. We'll take care of you. It was that type of thing that it was like other people was like, fuck, I'm gonna start smoking their cigars, because it's that hospitality, because you want people to go back to wherever they're from, and they're like, man, I really, really dig the time being there, because it's that one-on-one. I had a bunch of guys tell me, it was like, I really enjoyed sharing a cigar, sharing a few drinks with you over the time that, not like your usual hours. Because I left, I went home like 1 a.m. A lot of people wouldn't understand that. It's like, you're coming to my country, I want you to feel at home. Like, if I go to your country, you're gonna go out your way to like, hey, I'm gonna take you out here, take you out there. So like at the DE camp, I was like, okay, you're in my home, you're in my atmosphere. Let me do as much as possible to make you feel comfortable and make this experience unforgettable. That way you go home and you're like, man, I can't wait to come back. Man, I can't wait to tell my friends about this. Because it's the energy of like, this is a one-time thing. I'm never going to get this again. And it happened to a friend of mine, Tim Bako. He's in Canada. I was like, man, having a friend like you online is always good. You're always, chattable. From that one time we had a picture taken together. It's that one-on-one things that a lot of guys don't do in the cigar industry, or they do, but they don't, take it to the next level. For me, it was like, hey, you want a tattoo? Hey, you want a cigar? Hey, are you drinking something? You want something to drink? To me, it was always that thing. It was like Chris Duke, every time that he came down Nicaragua, he was like, hey, Jess, I want a tattoo. I was like, sure. So every time he has a tattoo for every trip that he came down for. I was like, that's amazing, and people were like mesmerized, like, hey, how many times have you been down here? It's like 8, 9 times. And it's about that experience. It's like, you can't duplicate it or clone it, because a lot of people just get paid for 9 to 5. And they're like, I got to go home. I really don't care about this guy. I really don't care. It was like, they got food, they got beer. To me, it was like, they got food, they got beer, but who's going to tell them about stories? Who's going to tell them about how this was created, how this cigar came about, how this name came about, how this property was bought, how this, the synergy, the energy of the decoration of the factory. A lot of people don't know, because like, they weren't there. Like, I was there for 20 years, and I tell everybody, like, listen, it's about the energy. It's about the vibe. It's about me telling you the story from the airport to the factory back to the airport. And you're going to leave with like, that guy made the experience. So for me, it's always been about the experience. Even with my website, when somebody buys something from me, it's like, I got to stay in contact with them. It's like, hey, there's a delay. Don't worry about it. We're there. And it's like, hey, I finally got my t-shirt. Dude, I got my t-shirt. And it's that excitement of just getting something that nobody else has. That, to me, that's the blessing.
And it's also about the intent, the why you do it. And hospitality is always, it has to come from hearts. Like, you can't fake it. And you probably, some people try to sort of play around with it or sort of fake it, but still.
Dialogue was like, yeah, today I'm going to say hi to Tim. Today I'm going to, like, no. To me, it's
Jessi, it clearly shows, and I think it shines with everything that you do, and that's why I so much appreciate all your hard work, and especially you jumping on this call with us today and sharing some of your incredible experience and some of these wonderful stories, and even the challenging ones, right? But that's what makes us all human, and hopefully we could shine a little bit of light on your endeavors. Like all these different paths that you've been on, and also, of course, for the good cause that you were working for. All the very best for that, and we'll do our very best to support it from our end. It's been a wonderful session, Jessi, and many thanks yet again. Before we wrap things off, I would love to let you all know that next week, of course, we will be back with Light 'em Up. We have Mo Mali from Patina Cigars joining us next week. So a very interesting boutique session coming up, and I hope you will tune in yet again next Wednesday, same time, same station, another Light 'em Up live show. Jessi, before we go, one final question for you.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
Now, looking into the crystal ball and then a couple of years ahead, what would you like to be the one thing or the legacy that Jessi Flores will be remembered for?
Bringing a lot of bondage and harmony into the cigar industry. because I believe that there are so many good people out here, and a lot of people like art and cigars. And as John used to tell me, is like, you're a phenomenal person to be around with. So I've always endeavored in that perspective. I want people to always remember me as the cigar art guy, you know, that people could always, you know, the city of Esteli is covered with murals, and it's something that I take a lot of prestige, you know, and honor that, you know, Esteli is known as the city of murals. You know, you come in, you see 30 different murals around the city, and there's like, yo, Jessi did that. Oh, Jessi's friend did that. Oh, one of Jessi's students did that. So it's that type of energy that I really like, that I'm gonna leave forth a lot of positive vibes, because that'll bring more people interested in the art and cigars, in cigar world. Because I've noticed that a lot of cigar guys, they won't say it, but you know, I influenced a lot of them, and I know a lot of them are like, hey, I like what you're doing, but they won't say it. But I like being the silent guy, and like, I want to influence more people before I leave this earth. And one of the few that I want to influence is my children. So every time I'm painting, they're always around me, because I want them to learn all the stuff that I've done. And maybe they won't do what I'm doing, but you know, give them an opportunity to see another side of the world, you know, because as being a graffiti artist and a cigar smoker, it brings two worlds together, you know. So I'm very happy that the city is very content with what I'm doing. You know, the city mayor knows me. When the police officers see me doing graffiti, they'll arrest other guys, but they won't arrest me. So there's a balance of respect. You know, there's like, we know this guy's an entrepreneur, that guy's just vandalizing. And to me, it means a lot that my fingerprint is left on the cigar industry, and a factory as large as Drew Estate. I'm there forever. Even if they erase the walls, I'm there for eternity.
What a wonderful way to end a great conversation. Jessi Flores, thank you so much for being with us here at Light 'em Up. Thanks for everything that you do. Be safe and be well. And to all of you guys, thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for
Thank you. Take care.
ciao, guys.
Ciao.